Okay, thank you again, brave souls. So tonight, we're working with a very challenging concept. I won't say difficult, because that would be predicting a negative, but it is challenging. Negative space is drawing the shape around things. And I wanted to start this recording with a picture of what we're drawing, which is going to be this chair, only it's not a chair. What is it? Collection of shapes, exactly. Very good. You guys pass. Okay. So it's shapes, lines, intersecting planes, and an interesting arrangement. Also, I had asked you to bring a photograph of yourself, and that's going to be the last thing we do tonight. But first, a little bit about negative space. I'm going to shift my camera around now that everybody at home has seen what the chair looks like. They won't be able to see the chair as I'm drawing. I'm going to flip this around. Hi, here I am, in case you were wondering what I look like. And this is still my drawing is right side up, and we're still recording, so I'm good. Okay, so at your place, you found a little device like this. This is called a viewfinder. How many of you have used a viewfinder before? Okay. Were they an adjustable viewfinder? The ones that you used? Or just a... Okay. Okay, well that works too. And it's a good thing to do because what it does is it limits what you're trying to draw. If I stood in front of the class and asked you guys to draw me standing there, that would be a difficult task. If instead I put my hands on my hips and I asked you to draw the spaces around me, the space under my arms when my hands are on my hips, the space around my head, but it can't go on out to infinity. So that's what the viewfinder is for. It's for limiting what you're looking at. And I'll tell you how to use it in a minute. But anyway, if you were to draw the spaces around me, you would draw me by default, sort of in the same way that if you work a jigsaw puzzle and all the pieces but one are put together, you know exactly what that missing piece looks like, right? Well, how do you know? You can't see it. How do you know what it looks like? By what's around it, exactly. So it's a perfect correspondence with the missing parts. Now, in Japan, they would say the space is not empty, it's full of nothing. Okay? So keep that in mind. We're going to draw full of nothing spaces tonight. And I want to first show you how to scale your drawing because the lady who was sitting over here where Angela was, she was sitting there last week. She's not here tonight. She had a viewfinder, and it was very long and skinny like this. And that would be a problem if you're working on a regular standard size piece of paper because the proportion doesn't match. The same if this were moved down to a square, right? If you're trying to draw a square view on a long paper, something's not going to match up, right? So you want to make your viewfinder match your paper, and I'm going to show you how to do that. First of all, take one piece of paper and fold it corner to corner so you're getting a long diagonal line. Kind of like that. It doesn't have to be perfect. Mine's not perfect. But you get a long... That's going to be our straight edge for tonight. Rather than pass out rulers, I thought we'd just make our own straight edge. So that's your straight edge. Now on your paper, you want to start with a corner, a right-angled corner. So you see how I laid one paper over top of this paper? And I'm going to draw a big L down and across. Okay, got my big L here. Okay, let me go back. On your paper, lay another paper so that you can trace a big L. Everybody got a big L like this? So you're just using the corner of another piece of paper to get some right angles. We want nice right angles for this. You with me, Doug? Okay. Now, here's how you scale. You can perfectly scale this viewfinder up so you get the right proportion. If you match the corner to the corner, see how this corner is right here in the bottom left corner? And it's sitting on the L is right here. And then if you take your straight edge and you lay it from this corner through this corner, not out here, not up here on the paper, but just intersecting here like this, and you draw it very lightly, draw a little guideline, and then continue your guideline up beyond the viewfinder. You see what I did? Can you see that okay? Okay, now anywhere on that diagonal line that you drop a line down, gotta move my picture here. If I drop a line down from that diagonal line and over, now the scale, the proportion of this rectangle matches this rectangle. You see how we did that?
No, I missed it. Provided the bottom is exactly perpendicular.
Right. Okay, let's go through it again. Okay, you start with a blank piece of paper. You make an L, a letter L, with another piece of paper. So you've got a perfect 90-degree angle, a right angle. That's 90 degrees, right? Yeah. And then on your L, you match this corner of your viewfinder with the L. With me? And then you take your straight edge and you line up the corners of your viewfinder and draw a line, a little light guideline all the way up. Then anywhere on that line that you drop down and over, anywhere on there, you're going to be the same proportion. I could also make the proportion here. I could go way down here. Anywhere on that line that you go over and down, you're going to end up with the same proportion rectangle as the viewfinder. Okay, and that's very important because you want them to match. Okay, now I've got a bunch of, I'm going to have to do it again on the back side of this because that's going to be too much to erase. So here you get a third demonstration. Okay, you trace your letter L. Whoops, my viewfinder fell apart on me. There we go. You match up the corner, get the paper clip out of the way, match up the corner with the corner, And then you want to run your straight edge from the corner to the corner and continue it up. And anywhere along that line that I choose to drop a line, I'm going to go about here. And go over. And down. And then I'm going to erase out my diagonal guideline because I don't want to interfere with my picture that I'm drawing. Get rid of my extras. Okay, is everybody clear on how we did that? You learned something new tonight, right?
How is this functional?
It is functional because if you're going to use a viewfinder, you have to have the viewfinder the same proportion as the picture plane that you're going to draw on. Now, when you look through the viewfinder, you have to close one eye and look at the chair with one eye closed, and you can move this viewfinder closer to your face or further away until you find an interesting arrangement which is touching the viewfinder, the chair, which is, we know it's not really a chair, it's just that bunch of shapes over there, but that chair thing is touching the viewfinder on at least 2 of the sides, preferably 3 or 4 of the sides, okay? And then what you're going to do is draw the shape between things, the shape around, above, and be careful not to mess up your viewfinder. Mine just kind of, my paper clips are a little bit loose. But look through the viewfinder with one eye closed, and then you're going to, you can tape your paper down if you want it not to slide around on you while you're drawing. I'm going to do that a minute, just because I don't like to have to keep fighting with it. I'm going to tape it in place. Tape is your friend.
So the whole chair doesn't have to be visible.
The whole chair doesn't have to be visible. Just find an interesting arrangement. If you don't like those curly things at the top, crop them out. I picked them because I thought it was kind of interesting, and I'm going to include them in mine. So what I'm going to do now, let me show you where we're going with this before we begin. See this drawing of a chair right here? It's not a drawing of a chair. It's a drawing of negative space. They did not draw the chair. They drew the spaces between, beneath, beside, above, beside, and you end up with that puzzle piece by default. Okay? So this is where we're going with this exercise. You want to have it touching. This one is touching on literally all 4 sides. Okay? And again, you can change that viewfinder. You can make it bigger, smaller, skinnier, more square, however you want to do it, until you get a composition that you like, and then scale your paper to match, and then look through your viewfinder with one eye closed, and it's going to give you shapes on all sides of it. And the hardest part is deciding where to begin. I'm going to begin at the top. Why not? You can begin anywhere. And
You're just drawing the negative space?
you're drawing the negative space. You're not drawing the chair. Draw the space around the chair. And you're going to have a whole bunch of interesting shapes.
Arm's length or longer?
It doesn't have to be arm's length. It can be close. So I just drew this shape right here. I'm not drawing the chair. Now I've got a very interesting shape which has kind of almost like a heart shape to it.
Do you know if there's tape we can snatch here?
You can use mine, Doug. Come and get it.
Yeah, that's actually awesome. Man. You're a good person. I hope I'll be as good as you, Michael. Or a man, no. Good there. Thank you.
So why do we close one eye?
Does it help us focus more? I don't know.
It is because if you look at it with two eyes, you can't really see in the viewfinder. You really need just one eye.
You see everything else.
You see everything else around it, yeah. Sort of like that laying your head on your pillow thing.
I'll be right back. Excuse me.
I think the difficult part is holding
The viewfinder at a constant.
trying to draw with one hand.
Yeah,
I'm used to,
right, right. And that's where you really need the tape to hold your paper in place too.
there's no shade here, long piece of tape.
Oh, great.
Thinking about giving it back. I don't know. Kind of falling, so. trying to come back up and getting the
Yes.
same spot.
Yes, yeah. Wow, that turned out really good, or it's turning out really good. I don't know if we're done or not. Looks
I
good.
don't think I got all my bases right yet, but thank you.
Try another one. I want you to touch the edges so that you're limiting, so you're not drawing infinity.
And beyond.
Jim, are you drawing the chair?
Yeah.
You're not supposed to draw the chair. Draw the space around the chair.
No gaps. And when you,
What I could do is draw what's behind the chair
Okay,
and leave the chair totally without detail.
yes.
Then
Don't draw the chair.
Don't draw the chair.
Draw this here.
Draw,
Draw this.
well, the chair's in the way.
mine's not great, but you see how I drew that thing, and then this one came in front, so this really is all one piece coming through here. But I drew a little square.
Challenging, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks really good.
It works different from lettering.
It's a really different way of approaching drawing. You have to really think.
So off.
You're drawing the chair, my dear. Don't draw the chair. Draw the space around the chair. Space. Looking through that viewfinder, make the puzzle pieces. Why?
The highest one is sitting it back. So right.
Oh,
Instead of.
it's too far away.
And that's too far off.
Did you bring it down yourself?
I didn't have one.
Do you have it?
Let's see them.
Oh.
I actually, I tried doing it in the mirror with my reading line, because, so I brought a picture of my daughter and stuff,
Okay,
but this kind of stuff,
I'm sorry.
no, it's not your fault, your eyes are bad.
Yeah,
I
well,
just have glaucoma, and it's, the pressure is on my eyes.
that's good. You did the same thing I did. My hair got too short. Wow, that's excellent. Can I,
It's so messy.
can I go show that to the camera?
Yeah, I suppose, but it's awfully messy.
No, it's good.
But I can't hold it. I lose it when I.
Can I borrow yours too? I wanted to show the camera some other approaches. Here's a really nice one. And isn't that pretty slick how by drawing the space around the chair magically appears? But I can tell the difference if you're drawing the chair. Don't draw the chair, draw the space around the chair. That was yours, right? I think so.
It's what I need to practice, I'm not good at it.
Yeah, and that brings up another point. She said, I need to practice because I'm not good at it. Of course not. It's the first time you've done it, or one of the first few times. Please remember, we've only had 3.5 hours together, okay? Very short time. In a real drawing class, I would have you drawing vases of flowers in negative space and statues in negative space and all sorts of things that have negative space. We would work on negative space for many hours, not for a half an hour. We have half an hour. At home, do it again. Get Doug, we got a beautiful bouquet of sunflowers on the kitchen table. Draw the shapes around the flowers. By default, you end up with the vase of flowers, and it's quite beautiful, but draw the shapes around things. It really does improve your drawing, because remember, we're talking about perceptual skills. The perceptions of lines and shapes. Susie, you said depth perception. That's a perceptual challenge that you just got to deal with, and however best you can. I'm sorry about that. But the perceptual skills we want are the perception of line or edge, which we've been working on in numerous ways. The perception of shape or space, the perception of relationships. Okay, so those are the three main perceptual skills that we've been developing in our 3.5 hours together. And just to recap, let's see, the first night, what did we do the first night? That was so long ago. We did the vase-face exercise, and that was about relationships, bringing the lines together and apart to match. Okay, and then we did the upside-down Picasso drawing of Stravinsky that you guys did absolutely fantastic on, and that was all about shape and line, perception of line. And then we did our hand in various contortions. Remember that you want to revert back to this hand drawing whenever you need kind of a warm-up. Just do modified blind contour line studies. Again, you need to do lots and lots of those, a whole week's worth of nothing but contour studies. And then negative space, the toughest concept here. You have to do it a lot to get good at it. Okay, so 2 things remain to do. We're going to draw a portrait of ourselves so we can see how much we've gained. And if you actually have a printout, I bet you might recognize these 2 faces. The guy in the back there doesn't have his hat on in this picture. Doug, you can come up and get this. I actually drew some of the contour lines on here to make it a little bit easier for you. If you have a printout that you can mark up, draw the contour lines because it will just make your job easier. And then turn it upside down because we already know that works, right? So you're going to draw it upside down and stick with the contour lines. If you get done and you like it and you have extra time and you want to shade it a little bit, you can. But I'm more concerned that you get the lines in the right place. Oh, this is kind of a confusing little line here because it's very small. Doug, you can come up and get this because you're going to draw this, not me.
So we're not using our viewfinder for that.
Not using, you may keep that viewfinder in my wild hope that you will use it again. If you think you're never going to use it again, you can give it back to me, but I really hope that you will try it and get better at that. I only brought in one thing, the big old chair for you to do negative space study of, but it bears repeating and repeating. Okay? Yes? That's fine. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so if you want to, if you need to use your phone, you can use your phone. How is this different from the first night when I asked you to draw yourself?
Because we're looking at something.
You have a picture, you're using your eye. Remember, your eye is your most important drawing tool. Not your hand or your pencil, but your most important drawing tool is your eye, and you're using your eye on this picture that you can see of yourself and draw the shapes, okay? Think about negative space. I also gave you guys a handout. How many of you did your homework and read your handout that I sent home with you? Okay, good. It talks a lot about negative shape. The negative shape around things, especially the collar. A collar is kind of something that people stereotype a lot. When you stereotype or symbolize something, it's a shortcut that does not help your drawing. So the negative space. The article talked about draw the white of the eye rather than the iris. That's using the negative space to come up with the iris by default. Drawing the negative space around the profile. Okay. Questions?
I'm having a tough time doing the vegetarian
You can.
in this chair.
You're still working on the chair?
I couldn't do it, but
It's because your brain doesn't like the idea of drawing empty space. You have to tell your brain, I'm trying an experiment. I'm just drawing the shapes. And it takes practice. You have to try it again. If you want to do that again rather than the portrait, you can. Yeah. And feel free to change the viewfinder. If you want to make it more square or however you want to make it, you can move it around.
Gail,
Yeah.
could you explain again or go into maybe a little bit more? Like, why it is, I know you talked about it, but why is it that why is it more successful to trick your brain into drawing the negative space rather than the object? Like, why is that? Why is it?
There's less distraction. Like if I put my hands on my hips and tell you to draw my arm, that your brain has all kinds of preconceived ideas about what an arm looks like. But if instead you draw this shape, this empty shape under my arm, you end up drawing the arm by default.
So you might be, rather than drawing the actual object, you might be drawing an object or a symbol in your head.
Right. You want to stay away from symbols, stick figure type things, and
So you already
smiley
have
faces.
this symbol of a chair in your head.
You already have the symbol of the chair in your head, and you want to draw that darn chair. Don't draw the chair. Draw the shapes around the chair.
Okay.
It really,
So
it's
a way of
it's bypassing your left brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the left brain wants to turn everything into symbols and simplify. Your right brain likes a complex task. It's just that we don't use our right brain as much, so that's why it's hard. It gives you maybe a little bit of a headache. And then I'm going to tell you the last thing, just so I can shut off my verbal mode, which is interrupting your drawing. The last thing I want you to do after you do your portrait, and then I'll leave you to draw in quiet, peace and quiet, and come around and see how you're doing. On another piece of paper, I would appreciate your feedback for this course. What you learned, what you didn't learn, if it met your expectations or not, and also if you might be interested in an intermediate course where we went into shading, tell me that too, and that'll be useful feedback. And if you no way would ever try it again, then let me know that too, and I'll be very sad, but that's the way it is. So anyway, just give me some feedback on another piece of paper, and you don't have to sign it. You can just turn it upside down, leave it over on the counter, or whatever you want to do.
Should we write it backwards?
You write it upside down backwards. There you go, Angela. That's beautiful. Yeah, I could read it. Yeah, mirror writing. So feedback on the last page. And also, if you are interested in an intermediate course, tell me how much you might be willing to pay for supplies. Like if we were buying charcoal pencils and special paper and so on, would you be willing to pay $5 or $10 or nothing? You know, so I need to know that on there too if you're interested in a follow-up course in the spring.
What kind of quality are these supplies?
They would be basic,
Okay.
budget items.
Well, I just want to know what kind of supplies we would be paying for.
Yeah, your basic charcoal pencil and kneaded eraser and some charcoal paper, which is surprisingly expensive. It's surprising what art supplies cost, as you know, I'm sure. Yeah.
I'm doing it on the cheap.
Thank you guys for making this a four-time adventure in bravery.